Welcome to day 7 of the challenge. Super pumped. We're rounding off our first week. This is great. We're making progress. And today is a big day. Today we're going to be choosing your topic for your webinar, for your automated webinar system. This is pivotal, okay? This is probably the biggest step in creating a successful automated webinar system. Why? Because your title, your topic for your webinar is your promise to the audience. When I look at a title for a webinar, or anybody else looks at that title for that matter, they understand that, hey, whatever this person says on that title is what they should be delivering on that webinar. It's their promise. If I am a yoga instructor, for example, let's say I specialize in yoga for beginners that have back pain, okay? If I have a title that says, cure your back pain with yoga in 1 week, okay? That's my promise. That's the title of the webinar. If I don't show them things on that webinar that will cure my back pain in a week, then I will not fulfill that promise, right? I'm going to lose trust with that audience, right? So the title is essential, right? It's your promise. You want to make sure you nail this very, very well, okay? So we're going to talk about how to craft a great title, a great topic for your webinar. All right, let's get started. Step number 1 is to get specific as possible with our webinar topic. Let's say, for example, I'm a basketball coach, and if I run a webinar with a title that says, become a great basketball player, right? That's a very general topic. It's also a very broad topic, and let's ask the question, can I fulfill that promise? That's a promise. Can I fulfill the fact that if they watch the webinar, they're going to be a great basketball player? Probably not, right? It's very hard to do that. To become a great basketball player, it takes a lifetime of practice and skills and talent, all that kind of stuff, right? So I want to get as specific as possible. If I'm a basketball coach, what part of basketball can I add the most value? And that brings us to step number 2 is value. Where can you add the most value to your audience? Okay, where can you add the best value? What are you great at? What are you known for? Okay, where do you have the experience that you have in life or in business or in whatever you do that can add some super value to this webinar? I'm going to give you some examples in a moment, but I want to just emphasize step number 1 is getting specific, okay? So if I'm going to use the basketball metaphor, okay, with a basketball coach, it's better for me to get as specific as possible. If I'm a coach that's really known for helping people with their free throw shooting so they can hit those shots in pressure moments, then let me focus on that. How to increase your free throw shooting by 10%. That's very specific. And I can deliver some strategies and techniques in the webinar in 1 hour that can really get them to that point, right? I got to get really specific as possible because I want to make sure I can fulfill the promise. See how specific is so important? Because to fulfill the promise, I got to make sure that I keep it contained, right? A great basketball player, really hard to fulfill. Increase your free throw shooting by 10%. I can give him some techniques that can get him there. So specific, step 1. Step 2, I talked about value. You want to add the most value as possible. Why? Because again, we said this is your audition, right? People want to make sure when they watch the webinar, they want to say, they're judging you. Is this worth my time? Yes, it's worth my time. Wow, I learned a lot. I got a lot of value from this webinar. You know, I spent some time, I gave my email address, and they delivered. Good chance, if I give my money, they'll deliver with their product. This is what we're trying to do here. So I want to add the most value. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can I add the most value? Like, where's my value at? Well, let's say, for example, I'm a travel blogger, and I want to give a webinar on how to travel to a specific country on a budget. Now, I'm fascinated with Japan. I love Japan, right? And I love Japanese food and culture. But the honest truth is I've never been to Japan, right? I've never been to Japan, even though I love it, okay? Now, if I was going to choose a different country, the best value I can add is if I chose Egypt, for example. Why? My parents are Egyptian. I've been to Egypt over a dozen times. I speak Arabic. I know how to get you a better trip. I know how to get you a better value. I know how to get you a trip under budget, with Egypt because I know it so well. Now, it's not the country I'm in love with the most. It's not the country I'm most passionate about. I might be more excited to talk about Japan, but where can I add the most value? Egypt, because that's where my experience is. I was dragged there when I was a kid for summer vacations. I know a lot more about how to make a great trip out of Egypt than Japan because of my experience. So take a look at your experience. It could be your professional experience. Like, for example, I was a teacher for 13 years before I was a full-time entrepreneur, right? So I can use my teaching techniques. I can teach people how to teach, or how to ask great questions, or how to evaluate people. All that kind of stuff is from my history as a professional. I should leverage that with my value. So think of the value you can add to your topic. Okay. Number 3 is that we want to make sure it ties into your offer, your product, whatever your business is going to be offering on that webinar. We're going to be talking about crafting your offer tomorrow, but I want to make sure you understand that your workshop has to make total sense with what you're selling, because we want to make sure the transition makes sense. We don't want to hoodwink anybody. We want to be transparent. We want to make sure that we're being honest, right? And when we're giving a workshop on a webinar, right, on this webinar we're creating together for the Automated Webinar Challenge, we want to make sure that there's some congruency, there's great value, that if they can take that information and use it. But what we're going to do in the offer is that we're going to show them how they can implement what we're teaching on the workshop with far greater ease. Okay? This is really the magic here. We're going to give a great workshop that they can use, they can get a lot out of. But if they want to get the results that they want faster, easier, with more comfort, right? The offer is going to make sense. The offer is the way to go. So let me give you an example. Let's go back to the basketball coach metaphor, right? Example. So with the basketball coach, I'm giving a workshop, I'm giving a webinar on how to improve your free throw shooting by 10%. Okay, I'm giving you techniques. I give them 5 techniques on how to do this, visualize, square up, all that kind of stuff, right? And it's a great workshop and it's great value, and they can do those drills on their own. But it's hard to do it on your own. It's hard to do it without a coach. It's hard to do it without accountability. It's hard to do it without the group, a community around you to support you. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is we're saying, hey, this is great value. You can use it and you can go ahead and do it, but there's an easier way to implement. And this is where my offer comes. And in this case, my offer could be my full coaching package for all the areas of basketball: offense, defense, dribbling, shooting, all that kind of stuff. There's a video, there's some coaching, there's a community. Then the audience on that webinar can say, hey, I rather implement it with far greater ease with that offer rather than just take these drills and try to do it on my own. This is what we're trying to do here. So make sure your topic is congruent with your offer. And this should be pretty easy, okay? So if I'm a yoga instructor, I'm not gonna do something that's so far out from what I'm offering. So if I am giving a program on how to do yoga for beginners to secure your back, my workshop shouldn't really be about nutrition, so to speak, because it's too far off the actual topic or the offering for my business. So really what we wanna do is we want some congruency. It's like a taster. It's like the first module. It's showing them, hey, you can have this great information and value, but I'm going to show you how to implement it with far greater ease with my offer. Okay, the nutrition part could be important, and it could be something that's in your program. But really what you want to do is you want to give them a taste of the theme, the results of what you're offering with your offer. So step 1, specific. Step 2, value. Step 3, make sure it's congruent with your offer or what you offer in your business, your product. We're going to talk about your offer, how to craft a great offer tomorrow. But today, we want to talk about making sure we nail our topic, because this is your homework. You got to nail this topic. You got to write it down. You got to make sure you have a title for your webinar. Okay, but you might be saying, I need some help, Omar. How can I get some more feedback about what's a good title or topic for my audience? Well, you can crowdsource it. There's 2 ways you can do that I recommend. Number 1, if you have some community around you on social media, if you have some friends and family, you can put it on social media. Say, hey, I'm thinking about running a webinar on the topic of basketball. You guys know I'm a basketball coach. What are some areas that you're struggling with when it comes to your basketball skills? Okay. And you want to hear from people, hey, I'm struggling with this, that, the other thing. And they're going to give you some ideas, passing, shooting, defense, whatever it is. And those can give you some specific examples of where you can craft a great topic, a great title for your webinar. Another way you could do it, and I highly recommend, is to run an Ask Me Anything live webinar. Creating a live webinar in Webinar Ninja is free, part of your program, is part of your trial, and you could do this right now. You can run an Ask Me Anything live webinar where you can say, hey, You can ask me any questions you have about my area of expertise, and people will ask you questions. Those questions are gold because those are the areas that they need help in, and those are great topics for your future webinar. You want to nail down one topic for this automated webinar. So let's make sure that we look at the most popular one, the one that's getting the most buzz on that webinar. So you can run a live webinar, you can crowdsource it on social. All right, so let's talk about homework. Your homework is you got to nail your topic. Nail it, whatever it is. You may already know your topic. You may already have crafted it. It's specific, it's valuable, it's tied in with your product or offer, your business, your service, whatever you offer. So good. Write that down. Make sure you have it because we're going to use it in a couple days when we start crafting things and start building things inside of Webinar Ninja, okay? So make sure you nail your topic. If you haven't nailed it, if you don't know it, make sure you start crowdsourcing it with, a Facebook post or a Twitter post or whatever it is, or use that Ask Me Anything method on a live webinar, okay? We want to make sure we have our topic before tomorrow. If you have to do a webinar, give it a few more days and you should have it, okay? But that's maximum. We don't want to fall behind here, okay? We're moving along, guys. Make sure that you don't fall behind. Make sure you've done everything up to this point because it's going to be harder to catch up if we don't do the work. This is day 7. Tomorrow's day 8. We're going to talk about crafting your offer, a huge topic where we're going to make sure that we make an irresistible offer and we package it in a way so people see the value. They understand that, there's very low risks to buying your product. And at the same time, it's a no-brainer. It's like, hey, this makes total sense. This is exactly what I'm looking for. You've really addressed all the issues I have in my head. We're going to talk about all that in tomorrow's lesson. Let's keep moving forward. Let's make sure we finish the homework and then we move on to crafting your offer, creating your offer tomorrow. Can't wait for that. See you then.